Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at the top 10 Pokemon V cards. We've had a couple of Pokemon Sword and Shield sets. This seems like a pretty good time to do so. Though a quick appendix before we get rolling here. We are talking Pokemon V. So Dragapult V is good, but really it's the VMAX that's good. So any Pokemon that's got a VMAX isn't being counted here. We are going full Pokemon V. And it is actually quite a clean list. I've got no honourable mentions. I mean, the closest ones that got to be an honourable mentions were Milotic and Wobbuffet, and I don't think they deserve to be on the list, if I'm honest with you. Sorry. So coming in at number 8, we've got INDEEDEE V. Now INDEEDEE is here very simply for the ability. Now the ability here is nice and simple. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from your active Pokemon. Now we saw this in Stonejourner decks for a while. We've seen it in other decks. It's not phenomenal, it doesn't see a huge amount of play. With bosses ordered around, able to drag it in the active and take 2 prizes off a fairly low HP Pokemon, there are reasons not to play it. The attack is fine, free energy, 10 damage, plus 60 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's fine. But really here it's extra healing, and if you want to play a tank deck, and if you want to have a Pokemon that can sit there and heal over and over again while you do, ladies and gentlemen, INDEEDEE's got your back. In at number 9, we've got Torkoal V. Now, Torkoal V really does look like it should be one of the really good decks around at the moment. It's a very good Pokemon, and it does come out very much as its own Pokemon. That's quite important to realise here. What it does for free energy, you do 90 damage discarding the top card of your deck. If it's a fire energy, you do 90 more damage. We've got Welder to get 2 energy on, attached for the turn and you're good to go. And there's so many things we've got like Makago or Oranguru, which will guarantee that you've got a energy on the top of your deck. And now all of a sudden you're just doing lots of damage. 180 for free energy. It's pretty gosh darn good, if I'm honest with you. So we like that very much indeed. We've then got 4 energy, 120, plus you discard 2 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So against something like a Dragapult VMAX, you get rid of both of their energy, and because those decks generally aren't playing much energy acceleration, that might be it at that stage, if I'm honest with you. That might be the game. It's pretty good, if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty gosh darned good. We like Torkoal. It's not proven to be the best fire deck around, but I still think there is a huge amount of potential. In at number 8, we've got Zamazenta, and let me say straight off the bat right now, this is not going to stay down at number 8. As it stands right now, I feel confident calling Zamazenta the 8th best Pokemon V we've got. I think by the time Darkness Ablaze comes out and the metagame shifts, this is going to change. But right now, as I sit here in June 2020, I feel good calling this number 8. Now the attack is fairly innocuous, free energy, 130, discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. And even with Metal Saucer to accelerate energy and Metal Frying Pan to reduce damage done to you while taking away your weakness, even maybe using Lucario and Melmetal to reduce damage done to you further, it's still not particularly impressive, even bearing in mind it's got the highest HP of any Pokemon V we've seen. But no, ladies and gentlemen, it's the ability Dauntless Shield. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V Max. Oh. Yeah, that's really good. But it's very metagame dependent. It's only really good in a metagame that is full of Pokemon V Maxes. Now, Dragapult, we've already mentioned, is pretty good. Rillaboom's running around here and there. There are a few doing the rounds, but the only one that's really seeing regular play is Dragapult. and it's just not proving to be good enough. Now, when the next set comes out and stuff like Eternatus becomes amazing, I think things are going to change, but for right now, it's down at number 8. In at number 7, we've got Sableye V. Now, Sableye V is a very fun one here, and essentially, the main reason we like it, the main calling card, as you were, is for 2 Darkness Energy, you do 10 damage, plus 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you've got a deck that spreads a little bit of damage around here and there, this can be really, really good. Obviously, the Roxy Weezing combo, discard 2 Weezing from your hand, and you end up drawing 6 cards while dealing 2 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. That's kind of nice. Obviously, Galarian Zigzagoon dropping 1 damage counter is quite nice, and Obstagoon dropping 3 damage counters is even better. So there are plenty of ways to use this, and essentially this is a very specific kind of card. You use it in any deck that spreads damage around or does what I like to term cheeky damage. And it is no more or less than that. There is an attack for 1 Darkness Energy that lets you put a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand, which is fine if you really have nothing going, basic Pokemon single energy, but if you're using Load Search, the game is probably getting away from you. Crazy Claws is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. In at number 6, we've got Dubwool V, and I think this is the part of the list where we have moved into, oh yeah, no, that's really good. I think this is the part of the list where we've gotten very, very good here, rather than, oh, that's quite cool. You see, Dubwool V's got an ability that reduces the damage done to it by 30. It's fine. It's a nice bonus, but it's not a reason to play the card. What is a reason to play the card is 3 colorless energy, 120 damage, and you do 30 more damage for each prize card that your opponent has taken. Oh. And this is Reset Stamp. You want to play this with Reset Stamp. Your opponent has taken 5 prizes. They now have 1 prize remaining left to take in order to win the game. So what do? You drop this, and then you start just hitting for 270 damage, while bearing in mind that your opponent is only going to have 1 card in hand. It's assuming you've done this properly, and things are going to get very, very good for you while getting very bad for your opponent. You could argue that for the majority of the game, this is not a particularly good card, and it would be kind of difficult to disagree with you in that regard. It's not great for the entire game, but it absolutely is great for a large chunk of the game. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? That is absolutely good enough for me. In at number 5, I am lumping together Ninetales V and Victini V. And that might sound like I'm being a little bit cheeky, but honestly here, they perform very similar roles. You see, what they do is they are cards to be used in fire decks with Welder, like we mentioned a moment ago, and they aren't the deck in and of themselves, but what they do is they give you options against particular Pokemon. So Ninetales V, for instance, has an attack for 3 energy, bearing in mind Welder in your attachment for the turn will pay it, that lets you choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. Now, the 4 energy 180 discard one is not particularly amazing. We're not terribly excited about it. But we are very, very much excited about being able to copy any of our opponent's attacks. This is nice. This is really nice. This is the kind of thing that traps your opponent when they don't even realize it might be happening. That's what's so cool about this. Copy a Dragapult while dropping 5 damage counters and taking a double KO in a situation where your opponent didn't think you were going to be able to. That's kind of cool. As for Victini V, 1 energy, attach 3 energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. Fire energy. Fine, but it's not going to win you the game. It's well, it might, I suppose. But this is really an early game, I've got nothing else, might as well kind of attack. but 2 energy, 1 welder, 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. So you can just pile energy onto Victini and Smash here, but a lot of the time what you're going to end up doing is punishing your opponent for attaching too much energy, or just having a decent 2 energy attacker. Either way, this seems pretty good to me. In at number 4, we've got Boltund V. Now, Boltund V is a very, very nice one here. What we see is 1 energy, search your deck for 2 lightning energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon. And this is actually surprisingly quite good. Early game in a lightning deck, if you don't get a wombo combo turn 1, this is cool. Plus, if you attach 2 energy to a Pikachu and Zekrom, although it's difficult to pull off, you can use the Thunder Mountain, Tapu Koko energy switch attached for turn to get 4 energy on in one go, essentially, at which point you've actually got the full 200 to the active, 170 to one of your opponent's bench, and Lightning decks are playing all of those cards. It's awkward and it's not going to work all the time, but it's also the kind of combo where if you pull it off, you probably win the game right there and then, so Boltund's a good doggo. But really, we're using it for Bolt Storm. 2 energy, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon. And when you're using stuff like Tapu Koko and Pikachu and Zekrom to get a whole bunch of extra energy onto the field, this is a very good Pokemon, and it is a great backup Pokemon in Pikachu and Zekrom, or frankly, any other lightning Pokemon decks. And I'm going to chuck Tapu Koko V in here as well, because I don't know if it necessarily deserves its own spot on the list, because at the end of the day, it is a backup in Pikachu and Zekrom decks, similar to Boltund, but make no mistake about it, Boltund is generally better. But 1 lightning energy, 20 damage, draw 2 cards is really nice in the early game, especially on a Pokemon with free retreat. And 3 energy, 200 damage is more damage than we see from something like Zero Aura GX or Raichu and Alolan Raichu, though do bear in mind they do have the paralysis that goes along with it. Good Pokemon, really nice in lightning decks. In at number 3, we've got Cramorant V. And Cramorant V, it's another one of those, like a bunch of them on the list, that has a nice emergency attack. 1 colourless energy, search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. It's not really what you want to be using, if I'm honest with you, but it'll do the trick if you've got nothing in its early game. 2 prize Pokemon, so try not to, but it'll work in a pinch. But then 3 energy, discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 160 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Bearing in mind we're in a format where Dedenne is everywhere, has 160 HP and gives up 2 prizes. This is playing welded decks like Blacephalon, for instance. I've seen it played in Malamar decks. Essentially, any deck that can accelerate energy really nicely should be considering popping Cramorant V in, because hitting 160 to the bench, being able to take out a bench Pokemon without using boss's orders, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. In at number 2, we've got Eldegoss V. And it's not for the attack that does 50 damage and shuffles this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. Although incidentally, if you can get a KO using this, because the damage is terrible, but if you can get a KO using this attack, it's actually really nice to get a 2-prize Pokemon, a 2-prize liability off your field. But really, it's for the ability that puts a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand when you bench it. It's Versus Seeker as a Pokemon. It gets you that extra welder to accelerate your energy, that extra boss's orders to gust and win the game, that extra professor's research so you can get a new hand of 7 cards and keep yourself in the game. Eldegoss is the kind of Pokemon you never actually want to play. But if you need to play it, it's there for you, and it sees play in so many different decks, it kind of has to go in at number 2. But in at number 1, in a move that surprises, I'm assuming, exactly 0 people, it's Zacian V, isn't it? Zacian V is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What it does is, well, 2 amazing things. 3 energy, 230 damage is a really phenomenally efficient attack, bearing in mind that you've got Metal Saucer to accelerate energy here. But then you've also got the ability that essentially lets you draw 3 cards and ends your turn, but if any of them are Metal Energy, you attach them to Zacian. And this does so many things here. You see it played in decks like Blacephalon, in Chinchino Mill decks, purely just to draw extra cards in the early game. You see it played as its own speed deck, using Jirachi Prism Star to try and cheat some extra prizes. Along with Arceus and Alga and Palkia, before Rebel Clash dropped at least, it was hands down the best deck in the format, using Arceus and Alga and Palkia to let you do an extra 30 damage and take an extra prize with every KO. So now you're hitting 260 and taking an extra prize every time you take a KO. It's ridiculous. This is not only the best Pokemon V we've got, but definitely in this conversation for the best Pokemon in the game at the moment. It is ridiculous and a very easy number 1. I feel very, very good about the top 6, but I think there's some arguing that can be done here. So I'd like to know what you think. To be fair, I do feel good about the top 10 as a whole. I think it's a nice, neat top 10, but I do think the top 6 are a cut above the rest. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.